well. Brooks's Bass Corner, live chat number 22 on a Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. here in the UK, 2 p.m. Eastern time in the States, I'm guessing 11 in the morning on the West Coast. So I hope you're all safe and well out there. Hope everything's going well. And welcome, like I say, live chat 22. I don't know quite where the time goes, but it does. And this is number 2 of a series of 10 on Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m. So you're very welcome. Hope you're doing well out there. If this is your first time visiting Brooks's Bass Corner, you are always welcome here. I'm Mike Brooks. If I can be of any help regarding bass stuff, bass amps, bass guitars, bass effects, if you want to know anything about the channel, anything about any of the videos that are here on the channel, if you want to ask anything about writing for Bass Guitar Magazine or Bass Player Magazine, fire away. We have a live chat window here. If you've got any questions or any comments, anything that you've seen on the channel that you'd like to discuss or ask me about, put those questions and comments there in that chat window and I will do my very best to help you out. Last week's one was pretty busy. If you want to catch up on any of the live chats, you'll find them in the live chat playlist. So if you go onto the video section of the channel, or you can go onto the playlist, it's up to you. If you go to playlist, you'll find one that says live chat and all of the old live chats are on there. If you've got nothing better to do, and I can't believe many people haven't, but if you've got nothing better to do, or if you've got a very long journey, you can by all means use those as podcasts. And I know a few bass players out there who use my live chats, listen to them in the car when they're driving back from gigs, poor buggers. So thank you very much. If you check in on the channel, if you contribute to the live chats, if you've subscribed to the channel, if you've watched anything, given any of the videos a thumbs up or left a comment, I very much appreciate it, as always. If you're enjoying this live chat, feel free to hit the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, hit the notification bell. You'll get notifications whenever I post up new content here on the channel. There's also, if you look along the row of icons, either on the desktop or the mobile app, you'll see one there which has a dollar symbol. That's called Super Thanks. If you enjoy that video, this video, or any video on the channel, that allows you to contribute financially to the running of this channel and what I'm trying to do here on Brooks's Bass Corner. So if you wish to contribute, that's the button. If you're here on the live chat now, live, if you look in the live chat window, you'll see there's a emoji icon and there's also a dollar symbol. If you hit the dollar symbol, again, that's now called, because we're on a live chat, that's called Super Chat. So if you hit that, it will ask you how much you wish to contribute towards the channel. Feel free. It's all very much appreciated in keeping this channel up and running, keeping all the social media channels going as well. So where are we? We are live chat number 22 on the channel. If you've been watching over the past couple of days, there's been a whole new series of YouTube shorts which have gone up called Put my teeth in. Every week, I tell you, the dentist is going to get a bill. There's a series of YouTube shorts called 3 Great Things. So it's a forerunner to a series that's going to be here on the channel shortly, which will be long form content. But YouTube shorts are kind of like TikTok. It's YouTube's version of TikTok. But I wanted to see how a shortened version of that series I want to run would work on YouTube shorts, and to see if there was some audience reaction to it. So it's called 3 Great Things. I will put a selection of basses, pedals, amplifiers up on there, and basically I will run through 3 great things about that item within 60 seconds. YouTube shorts don't last any longer than 60 seconds. So basically it's as much information as I can cram into 60 seconds, and hopefully you bass players out there will find it interesting. I know a few people who aren't bass players, and I've had messages from them saying, oh, I really love these shorts. So there'll be a load more of those going up. There's 3 already up. which featured a Kubicki X Factor, a Aria SB1000, which is this bass over here, and a Dingwall NG2, which is in the rack, 5-string. So by all means check those out if you want to find them and you sort of find it hard to navigate around the channel and the various videos. Either just go to the videos tab, or you can go again to the playlists. You'll find there's a shorts playlist, and those 3 videos will be, I guess, at the top because they're the latest videos that I've posted up. So those are there. If you've been following the bass string experiment series, which is following or basically it's a bit of an experiment to see how long a set of Rotor Sound steel round wound strings will last on my Status Empathy bass, which I've been using for a whole bunch of gigs. And at the moment we are up to gig number 11 here on the channel, but I've actually filmed the content up to and including gig number 15. So there's potential for definitely 1, maybe 2 of those videos, which will take us up to 13, being posted up this week, and then probably another 1 or 2 next week, and there will be gig number 16 will be taking place this Friday when I'm depping with a band that I've depped with for I think for about 14 years, called the Bears, based here in the UK. So I'm on a function with them on Friday, so that will take us on to gig number 16, and that ball just carries on rolling until either those strings give out or one of the strings snaps, or they just lose their tuning stability and I can't rely on them anymore. So if you're following that, like I say, videos on the channel are up to gig number 11, but I've got the content for number 15, and number 16 will be filmed this week. So if you're waiting for some more of those, keep an eye on the channel, hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and you will get notifications when those next videos go up. So what have I been up to since last week when we did this live chat last week, which was number 21? Basically filming a load of content, editing up a load of content. I did a Queen tribute at the weekend, which was a lot of fun, which was in South Redditch, which is kind of southwest Birmingham and then heading into sort of Warwickshire, Worcestershire area. So we did a private event with one of the Queen tributes that I play with. And that was a whole lot of fun. Did 2 one-hour sets and got to play John Deacon's bass lines for 2 hours. You know, I can't ask for more than that. And that was a whole heap of fun. And this week, just the 1 gig on Friday at the moment. So like I say, with the Bears, which I think is a wedding, but it might not be. I'm still waiting for all the details to come through, so we will see. And then it goes quiet gig-wise for a couple of weeks, which is great because it means I can get a load of YouTube content filmed, edited up and uploaded. And then November gets very busy. I think I've got 9 or 10 gigs in November, and then we hit December, which is just silly season. So fingers crossed we don't get any COVID nonsense this time round this year, and we can get through all the gigs in December. So there we go. So like I say, this is live chat number 22. There's a live chat window. I can see people writing in there, so I'm going to come down and reply to you very shortly. If you have not frequented one of these live chats before, basically you can ask anything you wish, anything bass related, anything music related, regarding the channel, any of the content, any of the videos. If you want to talk about gear, if you want to talk about basses, amps, effect pedals, any of this stuff, setting up basses, if you've got any problems with your equipment, or if you want to ask anything about any of the series or the videos that are here on the channel, fire away. That's what we're here for. This is the second of a series of 10 live chats that will be every Tuesday at 7 p.m. here in the UK, which is kind of 2 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern time in the US and 11 a.m. on the West Coast. So it's a two-way street. I kind of need as much input from you guys in order to answer questions. Otherwise, you've got to listen to me talking for an hour, which for some people, I'm sure they'll really enjoy. But I need interaction with you guys, so I hope everything's good out there. So let's see who we've got. We've got Stacey from North Carolina, Vintage Corgi. Hi there. Good evening. Hope you're well over there in the US. Papa G, Gary, good to see you. Evening. Stacey, I'm enjoying the Rotor Sound string experiment for sure. It's cool to follow the progression from gig to gig. So about 10 gigs before they feel different. Yeah, I think if I'm going back, I think round about gig 9, there was a change. So the strings kind of took 2 or 3, maybe 4 gigs to settle in. And then they lose that hyper brightness that a new set of strings usually has, or certainly steel round wounds. And I noticed round about gig 8, gig 9, the brightness was still there, but the E and the A string, both of which, you know, the bulk of your playing as a bass player is going to be on those 2 strings. They started to lose some of their suppleness. So it wasn't that the strings have died. They certainly haven't. The bass is there. I can play it, and at the moment, so it's done 15 gigs with that set of strings, and it still has, you know, a lot of volume, a reasonable amount of brightness, although it has died off a little. You just can't get away from that after 15 gigs. But it was those 2 bottom strings suddenly took on a slightly harder feel. So they were less supple. Not that they weren't, not that you couldn't bend them, but it was just, you could feel a change had occurred. So that was around about gig 8, gig 9, certainly into gig 10. The videos that you've seen are up to gig 11, by which point I think the brightness, I dropped down from a thumbs up to a 50-50, it's okay. The overall feel was okay. There was still bottom end, but the clarity had definitely gone. So the feel and the clarity had dropped from 100%, you know, these are great. They dropped down to sort of a middle level. But the other 2 areas, so bottom end and overall feel, were okay. They're still okay. I reckon we're going to get towards, I think we're going to get towards 30, 35 gigs. I think, and then it will come a point of, do I carry on gigging these strings or shall I take them off? Once the tuning stability goes, then they've got to go, because you're out on gigs, you can't rely on them at that point. Fine for home practice, but I'm using it as a gigging instrument, and that's part of the experiment, to see how long these last on gigs. So we will see. If one of the strings snaps, then that's it, kind of finished. But we will see how we go. But thank you for watching those videos. You know, there's been a lot of good feedback, and comments generally have been quite favourable, which is all good. And yeah, so we carry on. We will, I think if it does another 15 gigs, that's going to take me certainly in towards sort of December time. But if they go past 30 or so, I think we're going to be looking at into next year, which is quite surprising, because a lot of people, I mean, I use these strings all the time. I have no problems, no issues with them. I've been endorsing them for 7 years. Not had a string bust, any tuning problems, any dead strings, nothing. It's been great. Yet because of certain issues, I think in like decades gone past, when the manufacturing process maybe wasn't as great at certain times as it could have been, they've kind of got a reputation for dying off very quickly. But if you've been following the bass string experiment videos, you'll hear that they're not dying off at all. And they're doing, well, literally every gig is an hour to 2 hours in length. And I'm not particularly soft in playing my strings. It's they're getting a good workout every gig. So it's going to be interesting to see just exactly how many. Who knows, we might get up towards 40 and 50 gigs with these. We'll just have to see. The only thing is, I do have a load of gigs in my diary where I can't use that bass. For example, when I'm doing the Queen tribute stuff, I have to use precisions. And I think I've got a couple of other shows where there are specific basses I need to use. So we'll just have to see in the gig calendar how many more gigs that bass is going to get used on. We will see. Time will tell. But if you want to keep track of that journey, keep watching the videos, and certainly hit the subscribe button and notification bell, because when I post those videos up, you'll get notified. So keep checking back for those. Let's see what else we got. Which bass will you try next for the strings experiment? I'm not sure I'm going to do it again. Potentially, I think if I was to do it again, I'd probably do it on a Precision or a Jazz, because the thing is, the Empathy affords me the luxury of being able to dial in extra mids, extra treble, extra bass, because it's got a really powerful 18 volt 3-band EQ with sweepable mids. And I do hold the belief that on that bass, having done it years ago, I know roughly how many gigs I'm going to get out of that, I think. Now, if I put exactly the same strings on a Fender, whether it's a Precision or a Jazz, I think there is a correlation between 4 in a row machine heads on a headstock and those strings dying off a lot quicker, because there's nothing particularly amazing about the way the Empathy is laid out in terms of its bridge, machine heads, scale length. Scale length between that and a Precision or a Jazz is exactly the same. It's 34 inches, it's long scale. Yet, I could put exactly that set of strings on a Precision or a Jazz, and I know roughly between 8 and 10 gigs, those strings are going to die. And I swear there is a correlation between that 4 in a row headstock design and how far those strings go and those strings dying off. I don't know what it is, but every time I use a Fender style instrument for a prolonged series of gigs, set strings will die really rapidly compared to how they die off on the Empathy. There's also the fact that if it's a Precision or a Jazz and it's not active, it's totally passive, all I've got is a tone control. I don't have any EQ or active EQ to compensate for those strings dying. So that would be an alternative maybe to look at in the future. We will see. I don't know. The other option would be to use a different type of string, maybe some flat wounds or some half wounds, or even some nickel round wounds of the same gauge, and then see if there's a difference between the nickels and the steels dying off. Nickels generally are going to be softer with a slightly warmer tone. The concept is that nickels maintain their tone for a longer period because it's a warmer tone, so you're not going to notice the drastic difference from being super bright, which is round wound steels when they come out the packet, and then them dying off quite quickly. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, you're laughing at it. Yeah, great. Cheers. Gary, is it the D and the G strings that die on the Fenders? No, what I've found is it tends to be a bit more across the board, because again, the G and the E and the A strings are the two strings you're going to play the most as a bass player. So they're going to get far more activity, if you like, and far more sort of grease from your fingers and sweat and being played. But on Fenders, I keep saying Fenders, it's not necessarily a Fender bass, it's that Fender headstock design, 4 in a row. I just find there's something to do with the tension on the strings, and that goes across multiple brands. I've done this as experiments before. So it's not down to the brand, and it's not down to a specific gauge or a specific material. I've just found generally, if I put a new set of strings on a 4 in a row headstock design, those strings will die off a whole lot quicker than a set of strings that I put on a 2/2. So what I'm saying here is, let me get a couple of basses and it will explain itself a little. So here's the Empathy. So that's got a 2/2 arrangement. E, A, D and G. Yep. If I get a Fender, just bear with me a minute, people. If I get a Fender off the wall. So, and that's a 4 in a row. Now, obviously, these are longer in terms of string length than they would be on the Empathy. But on a Fender, I find all 4 will die off relatively quickly. compared to that 2/2. I don't know why. It's just my experience. But we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, maybe this might make a good second series of the bass string experiment. We'll see. If I do it, it'll be next summer when I've got like a huge swathe of gigs very quickly. So when I'm doing 4 or 5 on the bounce. The only thing is I'd need to pick which band I'm going to do that with, because a couple of the bands I play with, using a Fender just ain't going to work for the material I'm playing. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's an idea. It's an idea. So thank you for that. Thank you for that input, you two. Very much appreciated. If you've just seen this and you think, what's he holding? This is a Mike Dirnt Precision Fender 2005. I bought this. So this is allegedly vintage white. It looks more kind of butterscotchy vintage yellow to me. But when these were originally produced, the options were, I'm trying to remember now, black, this vintage white, alleged, and sunburst. And it came with a white scratch plate. It looked horrible. So the white scratch plate went for years. It had a black plate on it while I was doing a Green Day tribute. And then I bought this nice black perloid plate, which I think really works. So yeah, so this has done loads of gigs and still plays great. Fitted with flat wounds at the moment. Sounds cool. It's got a baseball neck. I mean, it is, we're talking, let's see. Yeah, thick. And the bass is fairly thick too in terms of depth. It's a big old unit, but if you're playing that sort of material, it really works. So there we go. So welcome if you are just joining us. It's Tuesday. It's live chat number 22 here on Brooks's Bass Corner. You're very welcome. Thanks for joining us. We have a live chat window here, so if you want to contribute, if you want to ask anything, looking for some advice on bass stuff, or you just want to chew the fat, feel free to comment in that box. I'll come to you as soon as I see your input appear. So if you've got any questions about basses, amps, speakers, effects, bass accessories, gig bags, if you want to know anything about any of the videos or the video series here on the channel, feel free to ask. If you want to know about doing a YouTube channel, if I can help, offer any advice or pointers, more than happy to do so. If you want to ask anything about my writing for Bass Player Magazine and Bass Guitar Magazine, again, feel free, use that chat window. More than happy to help in any way I can. If you want to know anything about any of the series here on the channel, so if you've watched any of the Essential Bass Album series, or you've been watching some of the bass string experiment videos that have been up recently, got any questions, stick them in that chat window and I'll reply as quick as I can. So what have we got coming up? So like I said earlier, the new series of shorts, of YouTube shorts, has started. So there's 3 of those have gone up, entitled 3 Great Things. So basically YouTube shorts last 60 seconds, and I try to get as much information on 3 subjects about each instrument, pedal or amplifier, as much as I can cram into 60 seconds basically. So there'll be some more of those going up. There will also be some long form content this week, so I would imagine the next installment or 2 of the bass string experiment will go up. So we're looking at gigs 12 and 13. And then there's a load of bass reviews, some pedal reviews, and some old interviews from my interview vault from my years interviewing the bass world's glitterati over the years. So there's going to be a couple of those going up very shortly. One I'm potentially going to try and time in with an anniversary, but we'll see how the release schedule goes. So yeah. So there we go. I saw something come up on the window. Are you using the flat wounds on the Queen tributes? No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. And I know some do. But as much as John Deacon used them for many years, up until about the early 80s, and then he, well, I know on the tour carnet, because there's a Queen box set called The Complete Works that came out in 1984. 5, just after Live Aid. And inside is a copy of their shipping carnet for the Works tour. And on there it stipulated what bass strings there were. So there were loads of rotor sound round wounds and loads of rotor sound flat wounds. Someone's just joined. Cognitive Burp, howdy. Welcome there. You're more than welcome here. Good to see you. Yes, so there were an assortment of round wounds and flat wounds. So he was obviously using different strings for different basses, and maybe he would switch between round wounds and flat wounds on any given night. I don't know. I don't know the exact answer to that. But I know some bass players will go with that. But the problem is, when you're doing something like a Queen tribute, you're covering such a wide spread of songs. So basically 20, 21 years of Queen material. Yeah, it would be 20 years because it was 71 to 91. You're covering such a wide span of material that the bass sound changes a little, and there is a definite twang on certain songs through the 80s. But also, if you watch something like Live at Wembley or you listen to it, he's definitely got round wounds on by that point. Things like Another One Bites the Dust. Well, on the 1986 gigs, pretty much every show he was using the Black Precision. And that had round wounds on. So you just got to listen to Another One Bites the Dust. I'm trying to think, what other songs would you hear the grit of that? Things like Radio Gaga. I think a couple of the songs where he's using a pick, you can kind of hear they're round wounds, they're not flats. You wouldn't get that kind of bass tone off the flats. So I tend to stick with the round wounds just so it gives me more volume, more punch, cuts through. And flat wounds are great for some things, and certain projects they'll sound great and great for recording with. But I'm never that convinced with them in a live setting. I just think there's, just by the nature of what they are, that there's a lack of clarity, and sometimes you need that just in your face punch to cut through, like the frequencies that your band covers. And different bands, I've been in so many different sort of projects and bands where you can take a bass and you think, oh, this is going to really work, and it doesn't, because the lineup of the band and the way people play and the equipment they're using covers a whole different array of frequencies than when you use that bass in another band. And I've experienced it many times. So I find, for the safety of being able to project a bass sound and keep it consistent, steel round wounds will always get that job done for me. But also, I just like, certainly with rotor sound, and they're infamous for it, the way those strings feel. Yeah, they're very tough and they're aggressive and they're grindy, but when you're on a hot, sweaty gig, it gives something for your fingers to grab onto. Like this set of flat wounds on here are very slippery, and a set of well-worn-in strings will feel very slippery. But on a Queen gig, and things are going by so quick, and you're getting bombarded with Brian May guitar sounds and the drums are pounding away, a set of round wounds will just give you that. It's almost like a security blanket, a security net. You've just got something else to hold on to when you're sort of moving around the neck. So in answer to your question, Gary, no, I don't use flat wounds for the Queen thing. I have them on this bass, but it's the only bass I've got flat wounds on. And it was just so that I had a bass with flats. But to be honest, on any live gig, unless someone says to me, I need you to play with flats, I'll always go with round wounds as a matter of course. On my acoustic basses, I prefer to have half wounds, and in fact I've got a Lakland Skyline here which has got rotor sound half wounds, the ones with the green ends. I can never remember the serial number for the sort of this range of strings. I can't remember off the top of my head, but anyway, they sound great, and I just wanted to see how they sounded on that bass, and they really work. Although I haven't been able to use this on a gig yet. I just haven't needed to do a 5-string gig for quite a while. but we'll see. We will see. But yeah, so let's see where we are. Stacey, the 3 Great Things shorts are pretty cool. Nice sized bites of bass info. Well, thank you. That was the idea. So there will be a series called 5 Great Things at some point. I've been sitting on it for quite a while, but that will go into greater detail. So if you watch any of these 3 Great Things shorts, they're bite-sized videos where I try and cram as much info in as I can. When I get around to doing the 5 Great Things, I'll be able to expand the content and go into sort of a bit more depth and detail. But those will be coming up fairly shortly. Yeah. Oh, Cognitive Burke, love the bass. Thank you. Oh, it's a cracker. I've had it for let's think, 17 years. I bought this in July 2005, and it's done many a gig. There's nothing. It's a fairly clean example. It's got a few little, I mean, really little dings on the headstock, but being in a Green Day tribute, it was always going to get the odd knock here and there, but the body works pretty good and it plays great, and it's all set up really nice. And the flat wounds, if you want to hear how this bass sounds, there is actually a review video and I think a soundbite. Yes, I did do a soundbite video as well. They're already on the channel, so if you just search for Mike Dirnt or Mike Dirnt Precision here on the channel, you'll find that video. And people always ask, well, what's so great about it? It's like, it's really, I mean, solid. It's bulky. I mean, the neck is like a baseball bat. Let me show you that. I mean, it's hefty, and the body is super thick. There is some contouring, not on the back though, but it's this 59 pickup. I mean, it just will take your head off. It's so grindy. And it's got a lot of top end response on it, but it just sounds great. And it's got badass bridge on it. And then, like I said, scratch plate was bought after the event, but it plays great. It's done many a gig. I have no complaints. So yeah, all good. Anyone asking about the t-shirt? I had someone send me a message the other day saying, where'd you get all your Prince t-shirts from? I'll post a link here, which will be up there. Should appear now, and that will take you through to a place called Rocket in Poole down in Dorset here in the UK. They are an official Prince merchandise store. Basically it's based around Prince and albums and books and DVDs and t-shirts and everything you could possibly imagine Prince wise, but they also do merchandise and t-shirts for loads and loads of other bands and artists in there. But I'll put a link there. So if you're after any sort of Prince stuff, this is all part of their Sign at the Times merchandise, that's the place to get it. I'll also put a link to it in the description box below. And actually any of the stuff you see or we talk about this evening, if it's featured here on the channel, there'll be a link in the description box. So you can catch up on all the other stuff. Any thoughts on doing some effects tutorials? Absolutely. And I've been waiting to do all of this because I've had so many things going on, and the summer was exceptionally busy with gigs. This year's been flat out, and I look back and I think, what the hell was I doing? Basically, from January through till about July, I just couldn't get any traction here on the channel. I had so many things going on, band sets to learn. I had various projects to do. My hard drive on my PC went down. There was a million and one things. But now I've been able to do a load of content, and there is loads coming. But yes, some effects tutorials are definitely on my list. I can see the list on that wall. And there is a thing for effects tutorials. There will also be some effects included in the 3 Great Things shorts, so keep an eye out for those. But also a whole load of pedal reviews coming your way. I did a load in 2020 and at the start of 2021. And it wasn't that they've fallen off the radar. I've just had other things that I had to get in motion here on the channel. Now that gigs are kind of settled down and I'm in a fairly standard format of the bands that I play with, and at the moment not doing a whole load of depping, so I don't have constant sets to learn every week, I can now do a load more YouTube stuff. So yes, sir, there will be effects tutorials, effects reviews, I'm tempted to do a series of videos where I will take one bass and plug it into a whole load of different pedals individually, and then take another bass and do this, and you can hear how the sound of a bass can change based on the effects it's going into, but also how those pedals sound radically different depending on the bass you're going to use. So yes, Cognitive Burt effects tutorials, they're coming your way. Just make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and you'll get messaged when that stuff goes up, so no problem. Getting good synth sounds. Well, I use a bunch of different filter pedals and a couple of different bass synth pedals. There's one here, I really like this. This is the Electro Harmonics bass mono synth, really like that. I'm not a keyboard player, I don't play bass synths. Never been in the position where I've had to. If someone offered me a world tour and said, you've got to play bass synth, I'll learn it. But there will be some pedals on, some videos on bass synth pedals. That will come. All of this stuff is coming, I can assure you. Vintage Corgi, hey, I see your Aria has a mate back there. What a beauty. Well, that is, well, behind me is the Aria. So it's an SB1000. And the other side is a Status Empathy. It's not the Status Empathy from the string videos. This is a new edition, but it's the brother or sister to the red one. And this is 3 months younger than that one, but both made in the same year. So yeah, so there's an Aria SB1000 and there's a Status Empathy for you. So yeah, and if you've watched the 3 Great Things shorts, you'll know that the Aria is featured in one of those, and seems to be quite popular. It's outpaced the other two quite frantically. So thank you if you've been watching the YouTube shorts. Thank you. Let's have a think. Patrick Sweeney, good evening, sir. Hope you're well. Thank you for joining us 2 weeks on the trot. That's really appreciated. LEDs on the neck, discuss. Okay, I'm quite happy to go into that conversation. Right, let me get rid of this Fender and we'll do LEDs on the neck, shall we? Right. Okay, let's use, because I keep showing the empathy, let's do my my GB Rumour. So this is GB Guitars Rumour 4-string LEDs. Right. Happy to discuss LEDs. So, I get loads of people taking the piss. And I don't mind. But then they're not the ones stood at the back on function gigs when there's very poor stage lighting and you can't see a thing that's going on. So, obviously, big fan of Mark King, big fan of Stanley Clarke, who's probably one of the first players to have LEDs in his bass. John Entwistle, with his Alembics, would have had LEDs in. So my big thing for LEDs was obviously seeing Mark King in 1988 with his brand new Alembic, and it had LEDs on. And then I saw them at Wembley Arena in January '89. He added LEDs. It was like, I love them. I'm all for that. But it really came to a point, let me think, when would that have been? 2002. So I bought my Status Empathy, the red one, and I bought a Status 2000. I actually bought quite a few Status 2000s. I think I had 5 and I got rid of 4 and kept 1. The one I kept is Stuart Clayton's old one. Hi Stuart, if you're watching. Stuart had already put LEDs in the front of that, and I guess that would have been my first LED bass, I think. Yeah. He had the fronts, but he didn't have the sides. I'd already bought the Empathy a couple of weeks before I bought that 2000. And I was using both basses with my covers band, function band, and we were doing loads of weddings where I just couldn't see a thing. The 2000 obviously had the LEDs on the front, so I had a red glow that I could see, which was fine. But there were no side LEDs, so people are thinking, what the hell's he talking about? So these are fronts. And on the side, going up the side, are side dots, which are for the player. So these are for the audience and these are for the player. So Stuart's 2000 just had the fronts, didn't have the sides. So I thought, right, okay, I really kind of need to get the sides put in. I had the Empathy as well. That had no LEDs at all. but both necks totally black. They're graphite. And although the Status Empathy had small dots, as did the Series 2000, they really were quite small on the side. So you got these small white dots. It looked very nice, but not much use on a gig. And the front had no markers at all, no position markers. And I just decided, I thought, well, it's 2002. I'm doing loads and loads of weddings, doing loads and loads of gigs where the lighting ain't that great. I was already wearing glasses, so the eyesight, you know, seen better days. And I just thought, if I'm going to use these basses and they're black, as soon as the lighting drops to a certain level, I can't see a thing. So I'm going to get some LEDs, and it'll be a business expense. And that was it. So I took the Empathy to Martin Sims, and I took the 2000 as well on the same day. And so I was having side dots put into the 2000 and the full package, so fronts and sides on the Empathy. And it didn't cost so much back then. I mean, now it is very expensive. It wasn't that price then. And as soon as I got both basses back, it's like, it's a different world, isn't it? You know, now I'm on these dark stages, you turn the LEDs on, great, solved. I could have done without the fronts. I would have quite happily just had the sides. But back in those days, for the sake of another £100 and something, it made sense just to have them, both of them. Now, if I was having a bass built from scratch, like if I was having this bass mat, I probably wouldn't have the fronts. I'd just go with the sides, because that's all I need to see. The front bit is a bit of gloss for the audience. But I now got, let me think, quite a few basses with them in. And if you're buying second-hand basses and they're already fitted in, then great. I don't think they hold their value. For example, if someone wanted to buy, or sometimes I go and buy a bass, it's got LEDs in, it's not going to, you can't attach the price of having the LEDs put in onto the bass cost, because half the time, a lot of people just go, I'm not bothered about the LEDs, so I know what the market value of that bass is. That's kind of what I'm prepared to pay. But if it's going to be a gigging bass that you're going to use a lot, then absolutely go for it. I mean, I do. And it's a talking point. And also on the GB, I had them put in on the headstock, so in the logo. So yeah, so there we go. So I hope that answers your question, sir. I mean, I know you were an LED fan as well, I'm sure. So I know you've got your Enfield, so which came from Martin Sims, so I'm sure you've got LEDs in those. The man in a white coat and hat. Well, good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us. Why did the man go to the music store to touch bass? I tell you, he's here all week, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent. We need more of that. You can be the comedy element. Excellent. Cognitive burp. The Aria is heavy. It kind of is, but this one's manageable. It's not too bad, actually. It's not too bad. I've got far heavier basses if we want to talk about alembic weights, but that area is pretty good. I know it's not as heavy as some examples, but yeah, that areas, yeah, you've got to shop around if you want an SB1000, because the weights do go up and down, and they're using heavy old woods, you know. Vintage Corgi, the area is heavy. Well, I know your one is, because you keep telling me how heavy that 900 is. I have an SB900 that's a tree practically. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Which is why you bought the Nordstrand Synonix, because it's short to scale and much easier for your playing. Patrick Sweeney, I have 3 basses with LEDs. It is part of the show. Exactly. Doesn't have to be. I mean, if you've got a bass that's just got the sides, which I do have just the sides, so bear with me a moment, guys and girls. Let's have a little look here. So it's another GB. Rumour again. So this was a prototype for Lawrence Cottle when he was having his first GB basses made by Bernie. So this was an example of several basses he was given, and eventually when he decided what he wanted, those basses went back to Bernie Goodfellow, and various trade shows were sold on. So this is a Rumour 5. So this has got LEDs, again done by Martin Sims. So let me think, is it that one? It is that. So obviously on the front, nothing. On the side, red. And it just works great with the colouring. So yeah, you know, if I was having a bass made from scratch, or if I had a bass that I had to use on projects now, and I thought I'm going to need LEDs to see, take the old goggles off, I would just have the sides. I wouldn't bother with the fronts, because either way, if you only have one set of LEDs put in a bass, whether it's front or side, that's the bulk of the cost. Having both sets as not two sets, if you go for two sets, it's going to be double the price, which would allow you to turn the fronts off and have the sides, or turn the sides off and have the fronts. But on the bulk of the basses I've got, basically it's one set of LEDs in the front and then fiber optics in the side, which then is like it's an extra cost, but it's not as expensive as having two separate sets. So basically the fiber optic takes a feed from the front facing LED, and that's how you get them running up the sides on the other basses. But in this one, the LEDs are just on the side. So there we go. So for the uninitiated, that's Sims LEDs in a short and concise description. Cognitive Burp, any thoughts on Steinberger basses? Absolutely legendary. A guy in my work who loves them says they're the best for holding their tuning, lightweight and easy to play. Not all of them were lightweight. The early ones could be quite heavy because they were solid blocks of graphite. And then they changed over time. I wouldn't necessarily say they're the best for holding their tuning. I mean, you could say any headless bass is good for that. I mean, my headless status is a perfect example of that. I think that design with that sort of Steinberger bridge, the big blocks, the string retainer on the head at the end of the neck, the way those bridges work. So it's not just a Steinberger thing, it's a status thing. You could say the headless Ibanez's. I mean, there's so many headless basses out there now. But anything that uses that kind of system where you're tuning down at the bridge, it's pretty stable. But the Steinbergers are legendary. The sound isn't for everyone, though. The EMGs could sound a bit clinical on a graphite bass, but again, that sound was everywhere in the 80s. So if it's a sound you like, go for it. The cheapest Steinberger basses, they're okay, I guess. They're not graphite. The Spirit range, I think they are, aren't they? And they're certainly not what the old Steinbergers were, but bass is a bass is a bass. Take each one on its merits. But I've played a couple of Steinbergers over the years. Never owned one, but played them in stores and what have you. They've always been great. I'd always prefer the bodied versions. I can't remember what the model was. Was it an XT or an X something? The one that Bill Wyman used. John Taylor from Duran Duran used one in the early 90s. They were usually white or black or red. Yeah, I prefer to have the body than the cricket bat, but if that's your thing, go for it. Gorgeous GB from Vintage Court. Yes, that is a cracker. It wasn't this color originally. It was chocolate brown, which wasn't my bag. So I went for that sort of hyper cherry sunburst. But yeah, Swamp Ash. What we got? Swamp Ash, maple. I think walnut. Yeah, it's great. Not too heavy. Pretty good, and it plays great. Got an amazing tone. 35-inch scale as well, which helps that low B. I haven't tuned it for a while, so it could be out of tune. But there we go. There we are. Get that one in the rack. So there we go. Yeah, so any further questions or comments, stick them in the live chat window. Where are we? 10:02. So we go for about another 10-15 minutes. So if this is your first time here, this is live chat number 22 on Brooks's Bass Corner, here every Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the UK, which is around 2 o'clock on the eastern coast in the States, around about 11 a.m. on the west coast. If you want to join in, feel free. That's what the live chat window is for. If I can help or offer any advice, or you just want to chew the fat and you want to talk bass, that live chat window is where you do it. So if you have anything you want to ask about what's on the channel, any videos, if you want to talk about gear, You want to talk about speakers, amps, guitars, effect pedals, strings, bass accessories. If I can help in any way, stick it in the live chat window and I'll come back to you as soon as I see something come up on there. If you're watching this or listening to it after the event, you can still get involved. Use the comments below. It comes through onto my YouTube feed and then I will reply to you. So even if you're watching this a year after we've done it, put something in the comments and I'll come back to you. Cognitive Burp, are you going to do a bass Xmas list this year? It would really help my girlfriend out. I have thought about it. It's whether I've got time to do it and also where I'm going to do it and who I'm going to get all the stuff from. So potentially I might do one. It crossed my mind about a week or two ago. I thought, well, should we do one? Because I didn't do one last year and I did one in 2020. I might even do it as a couple of videos because there was so much gear I had to shoehorn into that video. Yet it didn't, people weren't watching it the whole way through. They were watching like about 3 or 4 minutes or sort of jumping through the video. So it might be worth me doing it as a couple of shorter videos rather than like a 20-25 minutes all in one video. Watch this space. I will plan a few things, see what I can do. Patrick Sweeney, do you have any fan fretted basses or have you tried any? Well, sir, if you watch 3 Great Things, which are on the YouTube shorts, or if you have seen the Soundbite demos on the channel, you'll have seen this. So this is my Dingwall NG2. I'm a big fan of fan fretted basses. I've reviewed many for Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player. Done a lot of Dingwalls. I've played the Ibanez's. I've played various makes and models over the years when I've gone into bass shops because I was always quite taken with the whole fan fret concept. And then through Bass Direct and Meet and Sheldon Dingwall at the various London bass shows, I started to do more and more Dingwall reviews as they came in. I mean, God, there were new basses appearing sort of every couple of months. And we had an NG2 coming for a review, which was a Ferrari red one, which I posted up actually on the Facebook page a couple of weeks ago. I was going through old reviews and review content. So posted that up. So if you haven't seen on the Facebook page, Brooks's Bass Corner, if you scroll through, you'll see loads of old magazine reviews. There was a Ferrari red NG2 5-string came in. I was totally gobsmacked with it. And the fact that it was the lower end of the range, I was just like, I can't believe this. And the low B performance is outstanding. It doesn't sound so great unamplified, but I mean, it's just Dingwall B strings. Fabulous. So I know some people have a real mental block with using the fan fret thing. The way I got around it, because I didn't want to sit there trying to watch how I'm playing. I hate that. That just, you know, comes a point you should just be able to feel your way around with the occasional glance. Was the side of the neck. Let's see if it's hard for me. My camera flips everything around, so I'm not sure which way you see it. So there you'll see the side of the neck. Well, the side of the neck is no different to the side of any other neck. The frets aren't slanted there, so you can see the fret ends. So when you start glancing over your fingerboard, the different angles of the frets is what throws you. So don't look at it. I look at the side. So where's the fret end and where's the dot? And then your fingering shouldn't be any different than playing any other bass. So really you want to be as close to the fret, not in the middle and not near the back. You want to be as close to the fret as you would normally play a bass, and then just play. And that's, to me, I don't see what the big mental issue is. And it works great. I've had absolutely no problems with this. And this bass is just superb. Used it on a number of gigs with different bands. Absolutely superb. And I love the colour. I was always a sucker for a yellow bass, and love it. love it, love it, love it. So this is Ferrari Yellow. And like I say, there is a demo, Soundbite demo video on the channel. There's also the quick 3 Great Things YouTube short that went up yesterday. Yeah. And there will be a review of this going up very shortly as well. It's already in the can. I've just got to sort of tie up the loose ends on the video editing and stick it up. So yeah, I am a fan of fan fretted basses. So there we go. Vintage Corgi, Steinberger L2. Yeah, the L2, there were various models within Steinberger over the years though. So they weren't all L2s. But maybe you're saying that. That was JT Steinberger. That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Although Mr. Taylor did have an original Steinberger back in '82 because he used it on Top of the Pops playing Rio. So, so he's had a few of those over the years. So there we go. I think we'll probably do about another 5-10 minutes and then call it an evening. But thank you for everyone getting involved. I really appreciate this. So if you want to join in on the live chat, there's your window. Stick any comments, any questions, stick them in there, and I'll come back to you as soon as I see it. This is live chat 22, but it's the second of a series of 10 that will be every Tuesday at 7 p.m. here in the UK, up until December the 6th, I think. Yeah. So if you want to join in, we are here every Tuesday, chewing the fat on basses, talking about anything that's on the channel, anything that's occurring in the bass world. We'll be talking about it. Vintage Corgi, B-string, the voice of God. Well, that's one way to describe it. Yeah, yeah. The funny thing is, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 string basses here, and all the low Bs sound different. Even if I had 5 sets of identical strings, they would all sound different. Just the way these basses are all voiced. This, the GB, Music Man Stingray with a graphite neck, the Lakland Skyline, and I've got one other. There's one other. It's hiding. Ha! Anyway, I know all my 5 strings all sound totally different, which is great. So I've got a fair old assortment of bass tones to pick from there. So yeah, so thank you to everyone who has been subscribing lately, everyone who's liking the videos, commenting, even if they don't like the videos, and are commenting. It's all good stuff. Very much appreciated. I'll say again, for anyone who's late to the party, underneath this video, and actually every video on the channel, there is a $sign, which is called Super Thanks. So if you appreciate a video or you appreciate what the channel's doing, you can contribute financially to how the channel is run and keeping it going and buying products for reviews and demos and everything else. You can also do that within this live chat. You'll see in the chat window there's an emoji icon. There's also a $sign. If you hit the $sign, you can contribute financially to how the channel is run, edited, uploaded, how the content's produced. It's all good. So thank you very much for all those who do that. It keeps the cogs and the wheels turning, so to speak. So yeah, content coming up on the channel this week. There'll be a couple more 3 Great Things shorts. There will be some long form content in the form of the next installments of the bass string experiment, potentially a review or 2, and there will also be some old, I say vintage, it's not vintage, but interviews from yesteryear. So these are interviews I did with various bass legends over the years through my work for Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player, and time has come to get those edited up and up on the channel. So keep your eyes peeled. There's going to be a few of those. I won't say who they are because it'll be a surprise when they appear. And there's also a couple of brand new video interviews scheduled in for the next couple of weeks, and hopefully those interviewees will remember they are doing a couple of interviews, and we'll keep to the bookings in the diary. Patrick Sweeney, how do you find your pitch shifter pedal? And do you have to use it often? We're talking about the drop. Digitech drop. I absolutely adore this pedal, and I wish I'd had it 20 odd years ago. It would have made working in various bands that I have worked with a whole lot easier, and it would have meant I could have used a whole load of basses without having to tune them down, because for a period a lot of the bands I played with either tuned a semitone down or sometimes a whole tone down, and some basses just didn't like it at all. And then if you take that bass to another gig the next day and tune it back up, neck started shifting. So I could have done with that drop pedal long ago. Anyway, I've been using it since 2019, and I do use it often. I use it a lot. I use it not only for the tuning down, but I also use the octave effect in it, which is voiced slightly differently to the other octave pedals I've got. So as you can see, there's a MXR vintage bass octave there. Also got the Optimizer by Aguilar. Also got the Octabass from EBS. I've got two different ones of those. And the effect within the drop pedal is quite marked. It's a very different sounding octave, but I really like it, and it works well on quite a few basses. The only thing I would say about this pedal is for bass, it will work great up until about setting 3 or 4. So you're talking a tone and a half to 2 tones. After that, it does become a bit, it sounds a little odd, and you definitely lose loads of top end after about 3 semitones. So don't assume you can just use it and do a load of slap bass and it will sound great, pitch shifted down. It doesn't quite translate that way. And certain basses sound better with it than others. But depending on the band you're playing with and the types of bands, and how, again, in like the disco show band I play with, Uncle Funk, we're a 9-piece band. So basically I'm in charge of the bottom end, and there's no one else getting in that territory. The keyboard player tries it on a few times, but Swift Look, the old, usually stops him in his tracks. But there's a couple of songs I use it on in that, and it works really, really well. We do really like My Fire in B, and I like playing it in D position. Sorry, I like playing it here rather than down there. And it works really great. Sounds great on the recordings I've heard. But again, the top end starts drifting off a bit. So thankfully, I don't need a lot of it in that song. But if there were any songs that I had any sort of slapping or higher parts, you'll find that top end really drops off. So you'll kind of have to compensate with the EQ a little on the bass. But I really do love that pedal for £100. It's a bit of a lifesaver, and I've actually bought 2. So I keep one in my my gig bag that comes with me to every gig. And then there's one on my effects board as well. So yeah, so if you've not sampled the Delights, I suggest you do. There will be a review and demo of that very, very shortly. That one's in the can. That's just waiting for me to put it up. So we'll see. Vintage Corgi, a Steinberger XM4. There, you see, I told you there are a lot of Steinberger models. They weren't all the same. And they didn't all sound the same. They certainly didn't weigh the same either. Those early ones had a sound of their own, but they also weighed a ton. Because it was literally a block of graphite, carbon graphite. So they weren't easy. They looked small, but they weighed a ton. But over time, they changed the mix of the graphite, and came across a winning formula, I think, because for a long period in the 80s, those basses were everywhere. Every bass player of note either used one or certainly had one in their bass arsenal, in their racks, because it was the sound. It was the sound you had to have. You know, many a hit, many an album recorded with a Steinberger headless bass. That's for sure. Cool. Okay, if anyone has any other comments or questions, stick them in that live chat window, and I will answer them pronto. If not, I will look forward to seeing some of you, hopefully all of you, next Tuesday. We will do live chat number 23. Hopefully there'll have been a load of content go up, and we'll have some other things to discuss. I'm trying to think what else I need to tell you. So just keep an eye on the channel, more videos going up. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, give the video a thumbs up, all very much appreciated. If you hit the notification bell, you will get notifications when I'm posting stuff up, so you'll see everything as it happens. Thank you very much for joining in. I look forward to catching some of you, hopefully all of you, next week. It will be live chat number 23, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. UK time. That is 2 p.m. in the afternoon on the East Coast in the US, 11 a.m. on the West Coast in the US, and I won't go into every time zone. We could be here all night. But thank you very much to everyone for joining in. Very much appreciated, guys. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you next week. So take it easy. Have a great time. Have a great week. Stay safe. Don't get COVID if you can, because the numbers are on the increase here in the UK. And just look out for yourselves, and I will catch you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Take it easy. Have a great week.